All right, Nathan. Nate, what do you prefer?
My friends call me Nate, brother. You can call me Nate.
Nate, thanks for being on the Heart Dealer podcast, man. It's good to meet you in person, or not in person, but like remotely.
Yeah, man. I'm
Uh,
stoked. Thank you for having me, brother.
Not a problem. I'm just gonna dive into different things, history, music, labels, all this fun stuff.
Yeah.
So Nathan Aurora is the band name in you, or are you in the band name?
um, so the stage name Nathan Aurora started from back in the MySpace era. Um, coming
Okay.
up in MySpace metalcore and things like that. I was in a band when I was a teenager called Aurora for like 7 or 8 years. And it was in the day and age when every band member had to have the band name in their profile name. So it was like Nathan Aurora, Mike Aurora, Luis Aurora. And I just never changed it, man. It just stuck with me. And so as I continued to grow and evolve into different bands and things like that, the alias kind of just stayed Nathan Aurora. And when I started this band, I kind of wanted some consistency and cohesiveness to it. So I wanted to put that word in there. So such was the birth of Aurorawave.
That's awesome. I mean, MySpace, what a throwback. You've been doing this for a while, and I noted in a quote you said like 22 years you've been making music. Is that accurate?
Yeah, yeah, since I was 10 years old. So, I mean, the MySpace days were, it's funny. I look at a lot of younger artists these days. We just took a band out on tour that's all in their early 20s. And on the last night of tour, we got like a good hang in. And I started talking about MySpace a little bit, and they were like, oh, yeah, dude, we've heard about that. And I was like, damn, dude, times have changed. Because back in the day, it was like every band was, it's weird to be hanging with anyone who like was too young for even MySpace.
Yeah, I agree. Let me just quickly ask you, how's the video look on your end for you?
It's killer, dude. I'm sorry for my low production quality. There was many years during the pandemic where I had a full streaming studio and I was doing live streaming on Twitch and all this stuff. But I have two kids now and they are priority. So now my studio is located in the living room and it's usually dead silent all day and night. So this is the best I can offer for my video. But as far as like the connection between you and I, video, audio looks great.
That's all good, man. So you mentioned like MySpace, younger bands. You mentioned a kid. How old are you? How old's your kid? What's your family situation like?
Yeah, yeah, I'm 32 years old. I have a beautiful wife named Katie. We've been married for like 4 years, been together for almost a decade, and we have two amazing children. We have a 2-year-old son and a 3.5-month-old daughter.
Congrats. That's so
Thanks,
rad.
thanks, man. It's the best thing in the entire world. All the stereotypes are true.
It's funny, like the stereotypes only get truer as time goes on.
Right.
That for me, the biggest one is like they grow up so fast, and you're like, "Shut up, mom!" Like,
I
"Shut up,
know.
dad! What are you
I
talking
know.
about?" And then
I
you have
know.
your own kids. You're like, "Oh my god, how are they 8? I thought I just had it
I know my guy's only two
for them."
years old, but it's like it's insane, especially now that we have a newborn again. It's like I just feel like I blinked and he was newborn and now he's a toddler. He's going everywhere with me and he's like his own little man and it's just like feels like literally yesterday he was a little tiny newborn screaming in my face.
Yeah, it's. I agree with you. It's the best thing in the world. How do you balance family life, especially a newborn, right? Like that early stage,
Yeah.
and then making music, touring. I got a press release today that you're going out on tour again soon. So like,
Yeah.
how do you balance it all? Do you take them with you? Do you say peace? Like, what's your shtick?
It's tough, man. It's really tough. But it's more so just been about like when there's a will, there's a way. So I like to think that I have kind of, I've got a little bit of a great system going on now, and it kind of comes from experience because this band launched when my son was 6 months old. So like
Mm,
the whole first little period of his life, I was making a record and coming up with band stuff and like figuring out how to launch this band, and that was really hard because it was my first kid, and trying to like form this new band from scratch. So that those were some really like, to be honest, those were kind of dark days because it was just like the world was spinning in a million different directions. I got a baby crying. I'm trying to make something out of nothing, and it was really really tough. But we got through it. We got to the other side, and the thing about children is a lot of people will be like, "Oh, enjoy before they're walking. That's when it's easy." But to me, it's like my son's 2 years old now, and he's like he gets easier every day and funner and like all this stuff. So to me, it's like the newborn stage is kind of the hardest because it's just constant 24 hours around the clock trying to make sure they're okay. But that was the hard part. Now that we've got the second newborn, we're better parents. We've got more experience. Um, the band is kind of like cruising on this great momentum. I've got a year and a half of being a dad and being in this band, 2 years of experience. So like I know when I can work and what kind of work I can do when. It's like if I try and write a song during the day when both kids are up, there's no chance in hell. It's just it's not happening. All the dreams that you like before you become a parent, you're like, oh, dude, the baby's just gonna chill and I'll just do my thing. Baby will come to work with me. But as you probably know, with kids of your own, it's not really like that. It's you take care of them first, and then in any downtime, you squeeze in the things for yourself. So, uh, short answer to your question is it's tough, but it just takes a lot of personal sacrifice in terms of like I don't do anything except hang out with my family and work. That's literally it. So it's a great life, man. I'm not missing anything. I'm not lacking anything. I spend like most days with my, most of the day with my kids, and then at 7:30 when hopefully both babies are sleeping, go in the studio, make music, work on logistics, program the show, just squeeze in all the work I can when I can.
Good for you. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer that it comes down to prioritization, scheduling, and also, having a good understanding, communication, relationship with your partner. If
Totally,
your partner's not on board, if they're not part of the same overall plan, then it gets harder and harder
hundred
because you
percent.
got so many moving.
Yeah, man. I mean, having that partner is everything. And I think, you mentioned something about like other aspiring artists too and trying to help. And I'm always trying to help other aspiring artists. And I think there's this stereotype too about like a lot of artists don't want to start a family because they're like, oh, I have to work and I have to work. And that's cool, man. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but
Mhm.
you can do both. It involves sacrifice, and I think in terms of if another artist is in the situation that I was in with a newborn and trying to figure it all out as a first time parent and stuff, like it does get easier with time. And the most important thing is like remembering that, like, just get through the hard parts and you will create a system for yourself because it can sometimes feel like you're never going to be able to be creative again because being creative kind of requires that solitude and that like peace of mind and the focus, no matter what you're doing, even if you're making a podcast or painting or writing a song, but it's like it's almost like personal time. You got to block out the outside world and let the creativity in.
Yeah,
So it felt like, when am I ever going to be able to do my job again? But it does come around. You just got to one foot after the other, and you will find the time and space to keep doing what you got to do.
yeah, I agree. It's funny because I love helping people as well. It's a big part of what I do.
Yeah,
I'm an Aries. I'm stubborn. I grind hard, but I was always letting my cup run dry, my tank be empty. And then one of my therapists said, like, "Yo, dude, like, think of yourself as like Formula One race car. If that thing isn't getting the proper maintenance, proper oil, keeping the fluids, all this stuff, then you're not going to perform the way you should."
yeah,
And being selfish and taking time for myself to do what I need to create, innovate, grow my companies, go to the gym. Uh, I had to start prioritizing that more. And ironically, when I did that and I shifted my schedule and mindset, I started to have so much more energy and time for everything else, for
yeah,
my
dude.
kids, my partner.
Yeah, it's funny how that
So it
works.
sounds like
Yeah,
yeah, I know, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's all about like your own mindset too. So it's like obviously the kids are the first priority, so we got to make sure that we're our best selves so that we can do it all.
Absolutely. Uh, making music for 2 decades plus. Um, this band seems to have only, I mean, from my, look on Spotify, it's been around for only a few years, but it seems like there's so much happening, which obviously goes to how long you've been making music and creating.
Yeah,
Um, what's the journey? Like, were you 10? Were you 6? When did you pick up your first instrument? What was it? How did you get here?
yeah, dude. It's a long and winding road. I picked up my first guitar when I was 10, fell in love with it. I don't know what it was, but I thank the universe every single day that like I was able to just look at that and I something clicked in my brain and said, "That's what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life." So there was never any other thing that I wanted to do. And and I know that there's a lot of people that are still looking for their purpose in life too. So I'm really thankful that for some reason it literally just found me when I was 10. I knew in my soul like that's what I'm doing. So I instantly started bands, started writing songs, in a million different bands in middle school and high school. And during high school, I started a band that was kind of like it was like metalcore. This is kind of going back to the MySpace era type stuff. We started out as like a metalcore type band because the bands that were really fucking awesome at that time were like the Devil Wears Prada, Bless the Fall, and like that era of metalcore stuff, Miss May I. And I was 15 years old when that band really started getting some traction, and it was kind of insane because I was a sophomore in high school and we were playing shows every weekend, sold out shows, not our own headliners. We never really like got to that level, but we were a prominent local band. So every touring package that was coming through, we were getting thrown on as a local support. And so it's kind of insane, man. It feels like a different lifetime, but it was so cool. I mean, we got to open up for like Mitch era, Suicide Silence, Bring Me the Horizon, A Day to Remember, Whitechapel, everybody, dude. Terror, All Shall Perish, Winds of Plague. We were very much like playing with all those bands. Now, granted, we were 15; those guys were probably all in their early 20s, and like they didn't give a shit who we were. They were just like on a tour, a sick tour that we wanted to be on, but we were just a local support. But it was an amazing experience for me as a 15-year-old. I was like sitting in class and like I was like, dude, I got a sick sold out show this weekend with Bring Me the Horizon. And did that band for about 5 or 6 years. And then like a lot of the guys started growing up. We get to be like 18, 19, different directions and things. So a couple of the guys who were more determined, myself included, started a different band, and that was called Aurora. And that's when we kind of ditched the like singy stuff and like we got really into like technical deathcore and like just heavy ass deathcore. So we were really into like Born of Osiris and Veil of Maya and like bands like that. So we did that for like 4 or 5 years. Um, and it went really well. We put out 2 records. But I think that whole time we just didn't really have any like good idols or like we didn't have any like a strong management or anyone pushing us to be like, okay, cool, like these things are happening for you. Here's what you should do from here. So we kind of just were like going with the motions. Um, and
Yeah,
and I was like 21 ish, and then I decided to move to California. I was like, I don't think this band is really going to be the one. I'm gonna go get my life together, go to California. My mom had moved to California a few years ago at that time, and she was like, "Whenever you want to like stop working at Hot Topic and like actually get a car and like do do something with your life, like come move with me." And I've told this story a few times, but like I was 21 and I felt like my time was up because like most of those bands in that era, they were getting huge right out of high school and they were blowing up and they were all like in their early 20s. So when I was 21 and I didn't really have anything promising, I felt like an old man. And it's so funny looking back on, but I was like, guess I'm not going to make it. Anyways, moved to California, went to college, community college for 2 years, and then I was like, this isn't for me. I got to start a band again. I had like a bit of an identity crisis, and was like, I need to be playing music. And at that time, I had fallen really in love with reggae. So I was like, I'm gonna start a reggae band, and did that for 10 years. Took it to some really amazing heights. A lot of really amazing accomplishments with my last reggae band, and that unfortunately had to come to an end too. Just kind of bullshit, just disagreements with band members and things like that. So when that ended, it's like, what's my next step? And it was kind of fuse all of the worlds of all of that what I just said together and just like make music without rules and like just try to be myself fully and be like, I'm just gonna play the music I want to play, and this is what it is.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, I saw that metal was the foundation, and that's what started. Then you discovered reggae afterwards.
Yeah.
I think the quote that I saw was that reggae helped mold you into who you are. What do you mean by that? Like, was it a philosophical thing based on the vibes behind the music or the message behind the music? Like, oh, give me some more insight.
Yeah, I think I mean the meaning behind that is just like I think that as a human, you grow a lot in your 20s and you kind of like, find out who you are. And I'm sure in your 30s as well. I'm 32 years old and I'm excited to keep growing, but I grew a lot
Hmm.
in my 20s. and that was a scene that I was like heavily involved in for 10 years. So when I say it molded me, it's like it gave me a lot of my best friends currently. I met my wife through reggae music, you know. It really that's the band that I really had my first success with in terms of international touring, getting with management and booking agents and business managers. So it's like reggae music truly gave me all the knowledge that I have of the music industry, and it gave me a family, it gave me a circle of friends, it gave me so much. And I think that's what I mean when it's like it helped mold me, you know?
Amazing. Um, I mean, I'll get there in more detail later. I noticed like a lot of positivity and positive based messaging in your music on the upcoming album. Is any of that informed by the reggae, influence?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been like an eternal optimist, as like my buddy Sam calls me. You know, it's like he's our media guy on tour, and we'll face some shit situation. And like I owe a lot of that to my mom. I think she struggled a lot in her life, but was always able to be like optimistic about it. So it's like I think that's just kind of my inner dialogue is always like try and find the positive in the bullshit. And I think that's why I aligned so much with reggae. And I'll always be that, you know. But with this band, it's like I've been going through a lot of personal life shit, so a lot of these lyrics are like way more negative than like a lot of reggae people would want. You know, it's more about real life situations, dealing with bullshit, being fed up, being pissed off, dealing with things like spite and like dealing with those real emotions. And I think there's a lot of people in the reggae community that might not be ready for those messages because like a lot of people that listen to reggae, like they're in it for like the good vibes, obviously, but like there's a level of like escapism that comes along with that. And I think that's not what this band
Mhm.
is. This band is kind of for like going through the hard life situations in a real way and like not running from your emotions and kind of leaning into the struggle and persevering through it. And the reason I think it's positive, although those may be negative themes, is like the overarching thing is always you're gonna get through it, stick it out, like you got this, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you need that to be doing music for 2 plus decades, to have a
Yeah,
family, to dive into it and, money aside, say, like, "This is what I'm doing."
yeah,
How much
100%.
of it just comes from you and how much of this is because of you and just who you've been this entire life?
What do you mean? Can you reframe the question a bit?
Yeah, sure. Excuse me.
Yeah, you're good.
Um, Formed with the intention of absolute authenticity is one of the quotes I saw with the band. Is it you and your penchant for authenticity and positivity and keeping going no matter what that informs like how this band is and the lyrical content?
Oh yeah, dude, 100%. I think it's just like a lot of the like there's no other intention with this band other than just make music from the soul, don't overthink it, just be who you are and let it ripple out into the world the way that it's meant to, you know?
I totally agree. I mean, with our artist development company, that's one of the things I try to instill in all artists from day one is if you're here because you're trying to get there, and that's the main purpose, you're missing the point. Like
Yeah,
artistry has to be like music has to be created for music's sake. Artists just have to express.
yeah,
Sure, there's a business and there's a byproduct, and you want to have success and you want to pay for your lifestyle and blah blah blah. But you have to be doing that as kind of like a secondary goal or a byproduct of having organically created this authentic music.
right.
Um, it sounds like you feel the same way.
Yeah, I think both worlds are super important, but there has to be a hard line between them, you know? It's like yeah, you should keep your mind on the business and like the overall like where do you want this thing to go, but like you can't let that find its way into the creative process. You got to separate the two. You know, when you sit down, it's got to be for you to express what you're feeling, and then once you have that final product, you sit down and you go, okay, now what am I going to do with this?
100%. Do you think that, if success eluded you, you would still be doing this regardless?
Absolutely, dude. I think about it. I'm like, it's all I've ever known, dude. But like, I'm always gonna provide for my family. So if there was ever a day that came where this wasn't providing for my family, and I go fucking work at Best Buy or something, shout out to the people that work at Best Buy. I'd go work my shifts and I'd come home and make music for me because that's how I express myself, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic response because you're prioritizing the family, you're prioritizing the integrity of the home and taking care of everyone.
Yeah.
But you're saying, like, I'll do that and I'll reprioritize, but music's not falling off. It's just going to be secondary or whatever.
It's part of me, man, you know? It's part of me. And so it's like first things first, I'm always gonna provide for my family, dude. That's my job as a dad, you know, is to put literally put food
Yeah.
on the table. So that's always gonna come first. And I'm very lucky and I'm so aware of how lucky and grateful I am that like music has been my full-time job since 2015. And I'm always I say thank you every morning, every night, and I try to remind myself constantly when things feel slow or things feel uninspired or whatever, dude, you're fucking you're a professional musician for a living for 10 years. That's all you ever wanted, you know?
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude keeps us present. It's super important.
Yeah, man.
Um, you mentioned SoCal, the sunny vibes definitely are felt in the tunes. You mentioned Hot Topic and your mom. Like, what was family like life for you? Family life like for you? Like, did you uh, have siblings? Did you were you solo with mom? Like, give me some background.
Yeah. It was tough, dude, and I'm grateful for that too, like, in terms of gratitude. I used to be, like, pissed off about it when I was a teenager because it's like, you know, you always see people with big families and stuff like that, and, I'm grateful for it though because it's like, I'm really happy with who I am, you know, and I wouldn't change anything about my past. But no, it's tough, man. I was raised by a single mom. You know, who was really struggling to make ends meet our whole life. And she provided for my sister and I all by herself. And I never really like fully appreciated that until having kids of my own, you know, because it's like,
Mm, yeah,
sure, the money is one thing, you know, like trying to provide, but the other thing is like just the time, man. And for her to like be able to raise two kids with no help, zero, she didn't have her parents around, you know, like very few friends to like help with the children and stuff. So just the fact that she did is insane, you know. So I definitely like got into my teenage fucking, you know, no one understands me and like this kind of shit, you know. And I did a bunch of
yeah,
drugs and drank and partied and listened to metal and punk rock and like I was a pretty wayward teenager, I think, because of that, you know. But I'm grateful for it all, man, and it's been a fucking beautiful life, and I feel like I've lived a million lifetimes because of that. I got a lot of real world knowledge and I think wisdom from kind of having an unconventional upbringing, and I learned how to fend for myself, and I think that really comes in handy in the music industry.
definitely, definitely does. I think I've done hundreds of interviews over the last 20 years, but with this podcast, I've only done about 10. And the message that keeps coming up outside of, authenticity is, being true to yourself. It doesn't matter if someone's upbringing is like really positive or really negative, whether you had a full family and 18 siblings and went to church and everyone was happy, or
Yeah,
if it was drugs and alcohol and whatever. All of the similarities are I was trying to find myself and I, found myself in music. And
yeah,
that was just this moment where healing started and I had a path forwards or a path out.
yeah.
Um, did music like save you in any sense of the word, or was it just what you loved?
I think maybe it did, man. I've never really looked at it that way, but like I said, when I fell in love with it at 10, like it occupied my mind 100% of the time. So I think, you know, growing up and always being a musician, like when someone asks, like, what do you do? Always, I'm in a band, I'm a musician. I think maybe that did save me a little bit because, you know, I was always playing shows and running around and doing this music thing and, you know, rolling with a bunch of different crazy other teenagers who were also partaking in drugs and alcohol. But those ones that didn't have the purpose behind it, you know, just the kind of
Yeah,
people who would just be around, just partying and things like that. A lot of those guys, girls ended up in like some dark places, you know, with addiction and things like that. But for me, it was always like more of a social thing because the guiding force behind all of it was like, I got to make it in music. So maybe in
yeah,
that sense, it did save me, you know, it put me in some wild situations my whole life, you know, from playing the sold out shows at 15. We're doing like literal rock star shit at 15 years old, when like other kids were just going to class and stuff. So it was like an extreme road. But I think, yeah, maybe having music as that backbone, and once again, shout out to my mom, but just like that conscious and that reminder of like, no, 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 like you can't fall victim to like the addiction and like the having too much fun because you have a divine purpose that you have to stick towards, you know?
Yeah. It's funny. I was actually going to mention the mom too, because there's so many stories of 15-year-old young success, whether it's music or acting, it doesn't matter about the industry,
Yeah,
but young success, like very often comes with a slippery slope. You haven't lived, you haven't matured. All of a
right.
sudden, you got money, fame, whatever it is, and then people make stupid decisions. It's just kind
Totally.
of natural. It sounds like you had a really good, maybe moral compass, ethics, direction because of mom. It also sounds like you've taken a lot of that and put it into your own self as a parent, as a father.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Uh, Sublime, 311, Skindred. What are other bands that maybe you were influenced by in creating Aurorawave, or was it just this is the sound alike? It just happened. Give me more detail about reggae core. Is it
Yeah.
what you're calling it?
Yeah, dude, that's
Reggae
what
rock.
kind of what we're calling it. I wouldn't say that the music was directly influenced like sonically by bands like Sublime, 311, Skindred, and things like that. The music is very much because it's different. A lot of those guys were
Yeah.
fusing together the heavy genres of that era with the
Yeah.
reggae of that era. So like in terms of us starting in the year of 2024, like reggae has evolved a lot, and so has heavy music. Um, so it's
Mhm.
like, sure, we're combining the two styles, but like those two styles have changed a lot. So I feel like it's more of a modern spin on it. I don't think those bands directly influence the sound, but I mean, those bands definitely influenced me my entire fucking life. Those are bands I grew up listening
Yeah.
to and things like that. So I think if anything, they influenced the fact of just like, you can do it. Like, sure, be crazy. A band like 311 is the perfect example to be like, you don't have to follow anyone's rule book. They're going to do
Mhm.
reggae, they're going to do punk, rock, hip hop. And I think that's where the inspiration comes from. Rather than being like, we want to sound like them, it's more so like, we want to be free like them?
Yeah. And so naturally, the sound is, I guess, an organic evolution of your taste, right? Like
Right.
you grew up on, you said, deathcore, reggae, and then you're trying to fuse those rather than copy and paste them together.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's rad stuff. I'm a music junkie. Period. I listen to everything. My girlfriend, she's not a metalhead, and she definitely doesn't like the louder stuff. But I had some tracks on over the last few days, and some of the more deathcore leaning stuff came on, and she said, like I still really like this because it's got such good groove, it's got such good vibe. And I was thinking about it, and I was envisioning your shows being like a really wide audience where you do have the metal crowd that are there for like the breakdowns and the riffs, but then there's like so much just mellow summer groove to it too.
Yeah. It's been a really cool social experiment to see. We just really this year started doing our first headline stuff.
Yeah.
Last year was our first year as a band, and we did some great support tours, and then we did one headline show here in the hometown in SoCal in November last year, and then this year we've been hitting it hard with doing our first headline tours. So we just finished up 2 weeks of headline stuff across the country, and like it's really cool seeing it all come to life because you look out into the crowd and you walk around the venue and you do see that fusion of like fans from both sides of the aisle, which is really cool because you don't often see, you know, a bunch of kids in the same venue wearing like some reggae shit, Stick Figure Revolution, Iration, these kind of like popular reggae bands of the time, and then a bunch of people wearing Ice Nine Kills, Slipknot, like, you know, Gojira. And it's just like, this is fucking cool, man. It is uniting those people. And the coolest part about it too, man, is like um, there's a lot of gatekeeping in music, and I think that if someone's going to be a fan of our band, that's not in their, that's not their forte is gatekeeping. Because if they're going to be open minded enough to like a band like us, then they're just going to be there for good music, regardless of what style it is. And so you get the metal side of that and the reggae side of that, and those fans can coexist in a cool way and welcome each other and kind of become this family of fans that are just like, we don't give a fuck who you are. If you like this band, you're one of us.
Yeah, I agree. I think music's so important. I mean, it's basically the fabric of the universe, right? There's like sound waves going through this entire universe. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'll keep repeating it till I'm blue in the face. But V13 is leet speak, right? The internet language of mixing numbers and letters. And it's not just V13, it's the French word vie, life, la vie, because Nietzsche once said, without music, life would be a mistake. And I feel like true people that, like, I shouldn't say true people, people who truly love music,
Yeah,
they're not like by genre, they're not by this, they're by quality, they're by feeling, they're by vibe.
yeah.
Uh, and I think your guys are your sound is definitely capturing that a lot.
Well, thanks, man. That's definitely a cool thing to hear.
Well, hopefully you guys will come to Vancouver sometime soon and I'll see you live.
Yeah, so that's where you're based out of. You're up in Vancouver.
Yeah, I am. I was from Toronto originally. I lived in Europe for 4 years. I was in the US for a year in Rhode Island, and then eventually Toronto back to Vancouver. It's
Awesome.
a good vibe.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Seattle most of the year and then California during the summer.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. We've toured. My last
That's the
band
vibe.
did some Canada touring, and it was the first time I've ever been up there, and it was awesome, dude. It was. I mean, we were taking the ferries from island to island, and
Oh,
really cool
cool.
experience. I really enjoyed Canada a lot, so definitely hope to get back up there.
I feel the same way about the US. It's a lot of fun. Huge. It's huge and open, but it's so concentrated too. Like my favorite experiences recently, I was in Palm Springs for the first time, and everything seemed so far, but then you realize there was like an hour Uber ride, and you go, oh,
Yeah,
you could hit this market, you could hit that market, you could easily play like a whole bunch of shows in this one state within like a few hour ride from each other.
yeah,
Whereas with Canada, it's like I'm gonna hit Vancouver, then I have to drive like 8 hours this way, then 12 hours that way. It's a different
yeah.
touring style.
That is true, man. I think it's just because California rules. It's one of the weirdest. Like, it's so strange that a band can literally play like 11 different markets in one state. You can drive up the coast and
Right.
then hit inland, and like it's kind of wild.
I got, music and some other stuff I want to talk about. I also want to get like your take on labels and
Yeah.
DIY. You're about to go on tour. Are you, leaving the family behind? What's that going to be like for you? Have you done it before?
Yeah, dude. So we started touring really heavily in 2015. Long before I had kids, and so the answer to your question, yeah, I unfortunately I'm not at the level to bring the family with me. That's the intention. Is to
Yeah.
build this thing into a place where it's like comfortable enough to bring the family. Because like my wife, back when we were still dating, used to come on all sorts of tours with us, and she reached a point where she was just like, "This sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of brushing my teeth in a truck stop." And like, these were the days we'd be like sleeping at fans' houses and shit. And she's like, "This sucks. Like, this is gross." And I'm just like, "Yeah." So like, it made life a lot easier when she was just like, "I'll just stay home and take care of the family," Like, and then obviously when the kids get introduced to it, it's like we're super protective of our kids. And so it's like I'm never going to put them in situations that are like dangerous or like unsanitary or like just not at the level of like where a kid can just be a kid. So the goal for me is to build this thing into the point where I can get like a family tour bus and bring them, and that's like our little home on wheels. But until it's at that point, when my son's a little bit older, he'll probably do some weekend warrior stuff with me and come do like some local shows or like fly out for a weekend of if the venues are real nice and stuff like that. But until it gets to that point, yeah, my wife is incredible. She stays home and takes care of the kids. She's an angel.
Good for her. Good for you.
Thanks, man.
Does she work?
She does, yeah. She's a hairstylist, so she's been doing it a really long time. And the cool thing about that is she makes her own schedule and she runs her own business. Shitty thing about that is that no one told us is like you should probably find a partner that has a corporate job if you're self-employed, so that you can get health insurance. Because marrying another self-employed person fucking sucks,
Other
dude.
benefits?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I read I read a book recently, Millionaire Mind. I think it was Millionaire Mind. I might be getting it wrong, but this guy, he's no longer with us. He wrote a few different books, uh, and it was really it started as this huge survey of millionaire families all across the U.S. in different pockets. So it wasn't like segmented to a race or an area. It was just in general.
Yeah.
And there were huge surveys and lots of information to fill out. And then he started to compile all the answers, all the results into what was this book. And one of the things that came up is like very high percentages, like between 70 and 90%, was that for all of the families that were in this millionaire bracket or that had wealth, success, and maintained it, one parent worked. And
Mm,
the other parent helped to take care of the family because the family, as you know, is so much work. It's its own
right.
job. And it was never like male versus female. There was no like right or wrong. It was just that one person was the breadwinner, so to speak, and the other person was like locking down the house, the kids, and all the
Yeah.
other stuff.
That's really interesting.
It it sounds like you have something similar right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I do on my end. I'm speaking from experience. I've been married twice. I have a girlfriend now. She's got kids. I've got kids. She doesn't work, but and it's the first time in my life that I've experienced that because my previous wives all worked and we all had
Yeah.
careers. We were
Yeah.
all hungry. But I mean, when you're hungry and you're focused singularly on something like a band or companies, uh, a lot of other stuff falls by the wayside. And by having a partner that's like, yo, I've put it in your calendar. I'm taking care of this. Like I've picked up the kid. Now, when I shut off work, I get to go right into like dad mode and
Yeah.
husband mode or partner mode and
Yeah.
like be fully present and engaged and be fun and have those important memories and important time with them rather than be all stressed like, oh, I gotta make dinner and figure out how to mow
Yeah.
the lawn right now.
Yeah.
It's about time, the time
You're right.
management.
You're right, man. And that's a beautiful thing, man. And I think my wife and I have gotten to a much better place, since having children. At first, it was rocky, like I said, and then we've kind of developed the system. But I think in a lot of ways, we're still getting, we're just going to keep dialing it in even better. But definitely, big thanks goes out to her for, she has her own business, like I said, and she makes her own hours
Mm,
and her own stuff. But she's kind of like, I mean, her main priority in life was to become a mother, and so she's almost let her career take a back seat, to not only be a mother but also to like help me invest into my career and be like, yo,
yeah,
like she'll never say no, don't go on tour. No, we're just both so locked in together that she's like, oh yeah, like you have to do this. She's fully invested emotionally and to just like whatever we got to do, that's what we're gonna do.
yeah. Good for you. It took me. I'm 45. I don't know if I already said that. It took me a long time to learn that in a good relationship, whether it's wife or partner or
Yeah,
friends, business partners, you have to love and respect the other person, and you have to love and respect yourself.
yeah,
And if something's important to them, it's important to you. It can't just be about we connect well and the sex is great. It's this. It has to be about shared interests, and even if you don't
yeah.
like it, you support it and encourage it.
That's true, man. You got to prioritize their priorities as well.
Love that.
Yeah,
That's bang on. Okay, so judge me, wave shit, suffocate, Tibetan sky burial, turn the page, seize the day, keep the faith. I mean, there's so much like thematic cohesion on this upcoming album. You said it wasn't so positive. It feels positive. It feels like there's a lot of, I mean, carpe diem, right? Seize the
yeah,
day.
yeah.
It seems like it's heavily message oriented. What are you trying to say with this album? I mean, you said it was you and personal stories and things you're going through, but like, what's the overarching theme?
Yeah, dude. I mean, here's the thing. To me, it's incredibly positive, and I think to our fans, it's an incredibly positive style of music and lyrics. It's just that a lot of the people that listen to exclusively reggae, they don't want to hear about. Yeah, if they hear about personal struggles, it's branded in a certain kind of way. It's not necessarily like no one's admitting that like they're pissed. You know what I mean?
Mm,
No one's
mm,
admitting that they're fed up with this bullshit or whatever. It's always framed in a certain way of like to be just good vibes only, and that's fine, man. A lot of my favorite bands are like that too. It's all music and artists are all in their own lane, and they're all like, there's a specific time and place for everything. All I could do is write the music that's for me. So I just think that some of the themes that I choose to sing about are a little bit more in your face or more aggressive than your standard reggae band. But the overarching theme is always positive because it's always like, all right, shit's tough right now. All right, you feel judged, you feel fucking, like people are talking shit about you or whatever. You're gonna make it through that, and remember who you are, and remember, your mission and your purpose here on life. Stay true to that. Fuck what anyone else has to say is definitely the message of the record. And I think it's just more
Nice.
aggressive than like the average reggae listener wants to hear. But a lot of reggae listeners are like critical thinkers and open to that kind of stuff, and they'll find the positive in it, just the way that I meant it to be.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, it comes down to the vibe of the music, right? There's so many tones to your sound that whether you like heavy or groove or soft or high low, it has it all.
Yeah,
It almost sounds like the messaging comes down to the simple concept of there is no right or wrong. There
yeah,
is no
dude.
it's oh man, it's like oneness, right? Like there's duality in life, but then there's oneness. Some people say God is oneness. It's being able to understand that there is no bad, there's no good, there just is. And so something that is negative that happens to us, like, a bad car crash, an injury, a breakup, heartbreak, that's not bad. That is positive because it's teaching you something, it's growing you, it's changing you to be a better person that will
Yeah,
ultimately do more. And it's experience. So is the music similar to that, where you're just kind of conveying some of all the experiences that have happened to you, whether negative or positive, and then looking at the end result?
yeah, 100%, dude. It's a matter of perspective. It's like if you're going through some hard shit in life and you're just like, this is hard, this sucks, I hate it, I'm done. Like that's a negative way to look at it. But at the same time, it's okay to feel those things. This is hard, this sucks. I wish I didn't have to do this anymore, but still doing it and grinding through it and getting to that other side to where you can see the positive in it because it's going to help you grow and it's going to, you're going to gain wisdom from that and you're going to become a stronger person.
100%. I was talking with an artist yesterday, Canadian artist who is now in Atlanta by way of Los Angeles. His name's Raleigh. Really cool music, like reggaeton, soul, R&B. Recommend checking him out. He was talking, we had a great chat, and he was talking about cause and effect, how things cause us to react a certain way, and then we kind of likened it to Gandhi: be the change that you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
If there's a negative effect, or sorry, negative cause, it'll have a certain effect, but we can choose what that result is. We can choose how we respond to the stimulus.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely, man. I think life is all about perspective, and it all leads back to gratitude. If you can be grateful for the hard times, you're going to get through this thing a lot easier than if you just, woe is me all the time.
Yep. Well, being a positive dude helps with that, right? We have to, like, glasses half full all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But I think, for me it's really freeing to be able to write music that doesn't always have to be like cheery and I was in the reggae thing for like 10 years and there's a lot of themes that you stray away from, because you want to cater to the fan base and stuff. So it's like it's nice to be able to write songs that are pissed off sometimes. That's part of the human
Yeah.
experience, man. And it's like 100% part of the chapter that I've been in for the last couple of years. And it's nice to be able to express that in music, for the first time since I was like a naughty teenager. It's nice to just be able to like allow yourself to be pissed off. Now it's great because the first two records are done and they're out already. And like, I feel like I've processed a lot of my anger and things like that. So it's kind of nice because now the road is wide open to be like, what inspires me next? But I think it's
Yeah.
incredibly healing for me and incredibly important to remaining authentic to myself to be able to express those things on an open canvas with this music. Um, and I think there's a lot of really positive people out there that listen to this music and they relate to it in a way where they're like, dude, I'm going through this exact same shit. And that right there is an overall net positive right there too. And that's kind of the thing about rock and metal too, right? Is you get some of these songs and artists that are typically pissed off. Like, dude, one of my favorite bands of all time is the Acacia Strain. And those are some of the most negative, angry, pissed off lyrics in the world. But you go to that show, and all of these people are like healing with each other through this angry music. And I think that that's like it's okay, sure, it's kind of an abstract concept that only rock and metalheads really understand, but like that is incredibly positive, man. For an artist to be able to get their anger out through music and then release it, and so much positivity comes from that in terms of making people feel like they're not alone, that they have a community that stands with them and through the same struggles and the same negative feelings that they're experiencing. I think it's
Yeah.
an incredible thing, and I'm really grateful to be able to express myself in that way at times, you know. But then you also have the kind of just true to the sauce songs like "Seize the Day" and you know, a bunch of Aurorawave tracks that are kind of just more than like I'm feeling fucking good. Let's make some positive, upbeat music, you know?
I totally agree with you. Metal has this weird ability to unite people more than any other genre, at least from what I've experienced. Right? It's
Yeah,
so real and primal. And I think, like, to all the aspiring musicians out there, people that are watching, this is the point. You have to create what you like and what
yeah.
you want and what is real to you. And if you do that, there's a higher chance that other people will like it, and then your music will become commercial. If you do something for someone else or not wholly authentic to yourself, that's when shit falls apart. That's when it won't sell.
Also, too, it's like you're not going to be artistically fulfilled from that. So the likelihood of you wanting to continue it for a long period of time is not going to be very high because we typically tend to do things for a long time that make us feel good and that we really enjoy.
Yeah.
And the thing that's going to make you feel the best when making music is wearing your heart on your sleeve and
Mhm.
scratching that itch for yourself of being like, you know, you want to just vomit how you feel out into the song. And like, it feels like lifting a burden of 1,000 pounds off your back when you write that song. That's like, oh my God, dude, like that was such a release for me. Sure, it's
Yeah.
scary because you're being vulnerable, you know, but like that's the thing that's going to keep you consistent in releasing music for a long period of time rather than just being like, I want to make it in the, you know, pop world, hip hop world, rock world, whatever, and you just write these songs for that intention. It's like it's shallow and it's unfulfilling. So sure, you might even write some great songs, but the chances of you feeling fulfilled enough to keep going are going to be slim.
I'm with you. There's a reason this podcast is called Heart Dealer, because we're dealing in love and hearts, and being true to ourselves.
Yeah,
So I appreciate all the candid responses today. That's what I'm going for. Two questions, because I have this gut feeling, knowing my luck and your luck, that there's going to be a kid that wants you soon. So I want to get some more insight out of you
yeah, dude.
first.
Yeah,
This upcoming album has, I believe, 7 collabs, which is more than half the album. There are so many people, so many artists that I've talked to that are interested in collabs, want to guest on stuff, want to have stuff like people guest on their stuff.
yeah,
I mean, how did you get so many, and how did you do it? Like, what's your strategy?
yeah, dude. It's always been something that I love doing, and I think it's really a lot more popular to do collabs like in the reggae scene that I come from than a lot of other different scenes. So I think that's kind of a cool aspect that we're taking over into the rock world with us from being, you know, in the reggae scene for so long. Is that spirit of collaboration and getting a couple artists together and making great songs. But really, I write the songs, and I usually have in mind like who I want to collab on it, or maybe the song will tell me who it's calling for. But I just start writing a song from the top, man. I just start writing a song from the top and let it lead me where it wants to lead me. And sometimes it's like I'll write all the lyrics and I'll write the entire song and be like, this doesn't need anything else. But sometimes I'll get like verse, chorus, and then I get to a section of the song that's like an idea just pops like, you know, it would be really sick here. Like this would totally call for like this guest to come in and then we'll change it into like a heavier style or a hip hop style, whatever it is, you know? But really, man, I'm just like following the path that the song's laying out before me. In terms of like
Yep.
helping other artists that might want to get collaborations with some of their favorite artists, best thing you can do is just try and make a connection with them on a personal level. You know, maybe try to befriend them first, or just like reach out to them and let them know that you're a big fan and you're making music. But don't overwhelm them. That's always like the worst thing. Is the worst thing you can do for yourself in terms of like, you know, keep it short and sweet because you don't want to come off as someone that's like, yo, I love your band so much. Here's like 20 paragraphs about my life and I want to be like you. And like those are nice. Don't get me wrong. People appreciate the sentiment. But like not a lot of time, not a lot of people are gonna have the time to like read through all of that. So keep it short and sweet and reach out to your favorite artist. Don't be afraid, don't be shy. reach out to them and say, dude, thank you for the music that's helped me through the last 10 years of my life. I'm starting a band, whatever it may be. I'd love to work with you, keep it like that. And if they respond and be like, I got this song I think you'd be perfect for, short and sweet and authentic and from the heart, I think is the way. And that's how I've been able to secure a lot of the artists that I never thought I'd be able to work with. And then a lot of them are just from, especially on the reggae side of things, is like artists who have been best friends to me for a long time. The organic relationships like touring and just making songs together and just being in the same world. But for a lot of the rock and metal, especially some of the bigger artists and stuff, it's just, yeah, reaching out, being authentic, and being real and trying to be cool.
So it's like dating, be true to yourself and don't come on strong.
It kind of is, and it's like with everything in like enthusiasm is everything, man. Don't get me wrong. Like, be enthusiastic because no one's gonna believe in your shit unless you do. Just be mindful of other people's time and personal space because no one wants to get bombarded with the fucking million things. With all due respect.
Yeah, agreed. I have one more question,
Yeah,
but I'll just share a quick anecdote because I've been thinking about it ever since we started talking about family and touring. So, I mean, years ago, before I stopped doing interviews, only to start doing them again, I remember interviewing Des Fafara. I'm hopefully saying his last name right from Devil Driver and Cold Chamber. Um, Such a presence on stage, right? Like the guy's a beast and he's terrifying, and that's a lot of the band's music. So I'm interviewing him in Toronto, and I'm on his bus. I think I brought a joint for him, and I can't remember if he smoked or not. But he was drinking red wine. He said he wants some wine. We're having such a good conversation and sharing some red
I'm
wine.
still here.
Um,
Something's
and
frozen.
he's about to go on stage, which
Hopefully, it'll
later on
come
was
back.
just like pure delivery. But he said he like mid conversation, he like realizes what time it was. He's like, "Oh, dude, I gotta go. Give me a second. I'll be right back." All right, cool. Didn't expect this at all. But he got up, walked to the other end of like the bus where we were, calls his wife, and it's like, "Hey, baby, I love you so much. I'm about to be on stage. I hope you have an amazing day. I'm gonna call you as soon as the performance is over." And he came back. He's like, "Oh, dude, like, where were we?" And I was just so blown away by that because there was so much, truth and love to that man in that moment, and his priority was that, and was his wife, and was his family, and then there was the personality that came out, when he was on stage and whatnot. Uh, I don't know why I'm sharing that. I thought of it because of what you were talking about, and it was just, it was a good vibe story that I figured should be shared.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome, man. And you gotta love to hear it. You gotta love to hear it. At the end of the day, man, artists are humans, and the good humans out there that have families that prioritize them first. Like, family comes first, and the rest of it is our outlet to share and to create and to provide for our family. But family's always going to come first. So it's like you create that alter ego, you create that personality of who you are on stage, but at the end of the day, you come home and you're just dad.
Yep. I think the word create's really apt because one of the things I've learned in the last couple of years is that our purpose is to create. And if we're not creating, if we're not building something, whether it's our bodies, our minds, a product,
Yeah.
what are we doing? So I'm happy you said create.
Yeah, dude.
I just want to, you've got such a cool history and you've been through the MySpace era and different genres and toured internationally. And now you got a new project and collabs. I want to ask about like just the record label question, but first, like, what are one of each one of the best and worst things that you have done through your experience so far musically? Like, I don't mean like a project or something, like a learning marker for you that other bands or other artists should hear about. Like, oh my God, I made this one decision one time and I got an accountant and it changed my life. I don't know what it is, but what is it for you?
Yeah, man. I think in terms of like the best stuff that I've done or that you could do is like we talked about so much is to focus hard on the music. At the end of the day, you got to make great music. Um,
Mm,
and I think if you do that, the right people are going to align themselves with you, and just be careful of who you allow in. Most people are good. I do believe that. And the thing about this music thing is like it takes a team. So like if you make that great music, people are, and you're enthusiastic about it, people are going to gravitate towards you. The right people will come in to start helping you, whether that's, your first booking agent, your first manager, which is so huge, to have a manager as a band that's just starting out is like a milestone, man, because like the more that you can just focus on the music and have somebody else running and gunning and trying to like turn people onto your band and get you booked and like things like that is going to help you tremendously. Um, I think that those are like the should do. You should do that. You should just focus on the music and try to keep growing your team and your brand and all this stuff. Um, and the do nots, I guess, or like some of the mistakes that I've made. I feel like I've made some really smart choices, like even in the last like maybe like 7, 8 years, like ever since things started getting serious for me musically, career wise. I don't think that I've made any detrimental mistakes like in terms of the career. I'll say don't get distracted by the side shit. Don't get distracted with chicks and drugs and partying and that kind of stuff. If you really want to be serious with this music, like put all that to the side and just focus on the music. And I definitely walked a little bit of that road for sure too. But also like going back to my younger years and just like try to get out of your hometown, try to you make the investment into a shitty van that can get you to the surrounding states and go try and play those markets. And just don't get complacent. Always keep trying to take it a step further.
Cool. Um, that last point is super important. I remember talking to God, I think it was like a Slipknot show in Toronto, and both Unearth and As I Lay Dying were opening. This was years ago, and they said the same thing. They both said, honestly, it was whether it was one person or 100 people, we needed to play every day in a different venue and just get out there, get our word out there, and
Yeah,
gig as much as possible.
yeah. For a small band, it's everything, man, and especially to not like just play in your hometown 4 times a week. That's not what you want to be doing. You want to be playing as much as you
Mhm.
can when you're just starting out, but not in the same market over and over. Like if you live in California, you want to go play these other cities, and you want to go to Arizona and Utah and the surrounding, places like that.
Cool. Uh, Ineffable Records, I believe that's who this album's coming out on. There's a lot of artists that want to get signed. There's a lot of artists that realize they don't need to get signed. There's
Yeah,
definitely merits to both. There's no right or wrong. It comes down, in my opinion, it comes down to your individual situation and what the deal, like what the offer is. How much
yeah,
are you getting? How much are you losing? Like, what kind of gap did they fill for you? Why did you sign with them? Give us
yeah.
the lowdown.
Yeah, dude. So Ineffable, family to me, through and through family to me. Before they even had a label, they were a management company. So
Okay.
I've been managed by them with whatever band I was in since 2017. And they've just always helped me do anything that I fucking wanted to do as an artist. And I think that is like their biggest strong suit is a lot of people think about record labels and especially successful ones and like because of all the shit that's happened in the last like 30, 40 years with shitty record labels, like there's a stereotype that like there's some record label exec that's telling you like you got to do this, you got to sound like this, you got to sound like that. And in my experience with Ineffable, it's just never fucking been like that, man. And there's even people that assume that too, because like, okay, Ineffable is like they're a big dog label in the reggae world. And there's like sideline people that will be like, "Oh, dude, Nate left his last band because the label wanted him to play heavy metal reggae," and it's just like that is fucking insane. Like to even think about that because their bread and butter is just like Cali reggae and poppy reggae shit. If anything, they would tell me like, "Dude, do the smart thing and like just play the poppy reggae stuff." But like, never has that even been anything with them. I don't think they even understand the heavy metal reggae, if I'm being 100% honest, but they're family to me and they believe in me and they support me. So
Mm.
that is like the coolest fucking thing I could ever ask for in a record label is when it's like, it's the opposite of that stereotype of like, oh, the label's trying to tell you what to do. Rather, the label just being like, dude, we believe in you as an artist. So whatever direction you want to take this in, we got you. And that's very much been my experience with them. And a lot of them have been good friends for a long time. So they started their label. I don't know what year they started it, but like I said, they were a management company first, and they've grown into one of the most prominent reggae labels in the world. And they're doing indie stuff and dancehall stuff and reggae stuff, and we're definitely their only heavy metal anything.
Yeah.
So All my shout out to them for just believing in me and for trusting in the vision that I have, no matter how crazy it is.
Family, good vibes, community, people believing in each other, staying true to yourself, having goals, vision, taking chances. That's kind of like sums up our conversation, right? Sums up a little bit of everything.
Yeah, man.
Nate,
Yeah.
Nate, I
Yeah,
really
my
appreciate
friend.
your time, man. This has been such a good chat.
Hey, it really has, man. It's nice to hang with you a little bit and get to know you. I hope we can make it up to Vancouver soon and get to link up in person.
Absolutely. I'm pumped for the tour for you. I break a leg, as they say. I'm pumped for the album to come out and see like how things go, and we'll talk again, I'm sure.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it, man.